right, peace unto you. Hello and welcome to Tiffany Talks. My name is Tiffany and welcome to this episode that we're going to be talking about today is forms of manipulation and also Mr. Christopher Bear's story with his adoption story. We have today Chris and also his wife Samantha. So hello and welcome to the show. Hello you guys, how are you? Awesome. So, Chris, give us please the background on your story and what happened. I found it to be very intriguing. And why I found your story to be very intriguing was the fact that I feel like a lot of men are going through this. You know, a lot of men are going through, their children are being hung over their heads. Women are not being honest with the fathers about their children and what's actually going on in their lives. And I feel like men are being blindsided and being left in the blind when it came to children. So when I heard this story, it was very chilling. And I would love for you to share it. So please share your story.
The story actually starts, I was in Egypt. I'm an ex-Muslim. So I grew up in North Philly, 29th and Cumberland. So, you get into Islam in Philly. So, that's just kind of how it goes there sometimes. So got into that. And eventually I ended up going to Egypt, to learn Arabic and things like that. So me and my children's mother, we go to Egypt together. We already had some children at the time. So we already have 3 children together and her daughter, who I raised her whole life. Her daughter is 20 years old, which is my daughter. I've been raising her since she came out the womb. So we had those 4 children, and Amir was the last of them. He's the 5th. So in Egypt, and you know how it is, not knowing how to be a man, you don't know how to be a man. So, growing up in those areas where we grew up at, you don't have that male role model. And the mothers try their best, but, it's things they just can't give us. So I couldn't give it to the women I was with. So obviously that spiraled out of control. She gets pregnant with Amir. The relationship is falling apart. So she decides to, in that case, I guess to protect herself or to do whatever it is she was doing emotionally, to leave. So when she left Egypt, this was 2012 she left. So 2012, maybe a little before the summertime of 2012. And at this time, Egypt was in a civil war. The whole Middle East was. It was called the Arab Spring. It started in 2011. It ended around 2014, 2015. Okay. So, and I was there through the course of all of that. But that's a whole other conversation. But anyway, the war is going on. She leaves me with all the children. So I wake up one day. She tells me she's going to the doctor, for the baby. She's starting to show and everything. She leaves and we never see her again for a year.
What? Oh, so wait a minute, you knew she was pregnant.
Oh, yeah.
You knew she was pregnant and she just disappeared.
Yeah, no doubt. She just disappeared. Obviously, our relationship wasn't working the greatest. Whatever she was feeling emotionally at the time, it was what it was, right? So she decides to leave, disappears, don't come back. So, obviously I'm distraught. I don't know what's going on. It's a war zone. I got these 4 children with me and things get crazy. And so eventually they start locking up everybody over there with a beard. I go to jail over there in an Egyptian prison, rats on me, urine and feces all around me. My children, I didn't know where they were.
And what was that like being in prison in Egypt?
I mean, I just went into my own mind. I've survived North Philly. I survived the projects. I just went to that mode. You know what I'm saying? I went there and I said, okay, what did I do to survive that? I just had that same mindset there.
Nice.
So, and then eventually when I get out of there, they let me out. I'm American because they didn't believe I was American because I was brown, right?
Right.
So, not knowing that we're the original Americans, right? But anyway, I'm over there, and they let me out. So, a friend of mine who I was learning Islam, but my teacher at the time, him and some friends of mine in his tribe, they found my children and had them protecting them the whole time. Okay. So when I get out, obviously the United States sent me to Germany. All right, not with my children, by the way. My children were still in Egypt. They sent me to Germany by myself. So eventually, I get back to the States by myself. Now, at this time, Cherie, that's her name, my ex-wife. She done had the baby. I actually found out where she had to contact her. I had to find out where she was to go get the children. So she had to go back to Egypt to the embassy to get them. She had to go back to Egypt to get our children. So that's the only way I found her. That's how I found that she was okay and that she wasn't pregnant anymore because of that event. So I asked about the baby, you know, where's my son and what happened, yada, yada, yada. She said he was stillborn, that he died.
Wow.
Distraught. You know, I done been through enough childhood all the way up until this point. So my brain at this point ain't even working that well. So I didn't even question. I said, okay, he's dead. I didn't ask for a death certificate. You know, where is he buried? You know, I didn't think of it.
Right.
I'm like, all right, cool. So anyway, he goes back, get our children. They come back. Now, at this point, when the children come back, this had to be 2013 November.
Okay.
My son, who I just recently found, and we'll get into that. My son was still in Philadelphia at the time because when I contacted the family that has him recently, and now we have an open relationship now.
Right.
And I talk to my son, you know, every week now. So when I talked to them, we found some information. We found out they didn't come get my son until 2013, December 3rd. Meaning today, I think is the anniversary because the lady just texted me, sent me a picture of him when he's a baby and said, this is the day we came and got him, 2013. So when I got back in October, November of 2013, my son was still in Philadelphia. Her and her mother were still hiding my son from me.
Wow.
Still hiding my son.
Wow.
So obviously I didn't know. So let's fast forward that till 2020. Now, this is a year after my son Idris was killed in Philly. He was 18. His stepfather killed him. So a year after that, I found out about Amir. One day I'm at the house. I'm over there, and I go over there like every weekend to talk to my children, spend some time with them, pick them up, or I take them to my house. So one of these days, I'm over there hanging with them. I think the Eagles was playing, watching the Eagles game or something like that. So something was telling me, just hit me about that boy. Something. I was just like, man, why do I feel he's alive? I felt it. Wow. I was like, man, this just ain't sitting, my man. You got to figure, I didn't think about this for 8 years.
Now, wait a minute. So, Samantha, where is your mindset in all of this, and how do you actually feel as well, too? Because I'm sure, like, you know, him as a man, you're absorbing all of this energy that he's feeling, he's going through. It's like, oh my goodness. Like, how did you feel in all of this?
That's such a great question. I think you and I probably definitely have, I guess, a mirrored concept of spirituality. I've seen you read before, I read before. So I know we have that thing in common where I think we all have our journey. And when you evolve, when you're healed, you don't look at people the same way you do when you're not healed and when you're not sound of mind. So I actually heard his story, and that's what drew me to him. The moment he told the story the same way you're telling it now, I was listening because he was on another live, actually, with another mutual friend of ours. And I just started crying. I'm like, who is this person? I automatically felt like I got to know what type of person could go through that and still sit here and smile. It was nothing about, oh, he's fine or whatever, because he is. But
yeah, thank you, by the way.
But at that point, it was definitely a part of my journey to see someone healed, like, and especially for a masculine man to come up and show up as healed was like incredible to me because I'd never experienced that personally or even in relationship. I've always been with men who were relatively broken. So that was fascinating to me. But I also felt this subconscious connection to his son. I lost the child that I assumed, and I feel still deeply that it might have been a boy. And I've never had a boy. So I was like, oh, I always wanted a son. So when he was sharing that with me, I just felt like, wow, here I am. And I'm longing for a connection like that with a male child, but I don't have it. But that would be beautiful if I had that kind of, you know, heroic story. So he just always came across as like this incredible, almost superhero-like person to me. And I know that seems corny, but he was literally like my ideal. Everything that I wrote down that I wanted to manifest in a partner, just hearing his story, he embodied that. And I was like, all right, he seems like all right person. Then he started stalking me.
What?
Yes. And you know what? I see that through both, like on both of y'all, I see that. Like y'all radiate love. Like I just see that connection between the two of y'all. And that's why I'm like, oh my God, they're so cute. I be wanting y'all to share more of that, So, because I feel like the world needs so much of that. So yes, wow. Okay, so when did you find out? No, I'm sorry, Miss Samantha.
Okay.
Oh, well, yeah, I found out because this is the thing I think I most admire about you is you've always held yourself accountable. When you're telling a story, it's never like, oh, someone did this to me and they did that to me. You never came across as a victim. And I think whenever as feminine people, right, not necessarily the sex, but the energy, people like that, we absorb more empathically. And I always absorbed this sense of like healing from him. He wanted people to understand what the journey was, not necessarily his story. And I was like, wow, that's deep. He's not telling it from a victim standpoint. He's telling it as a person that journeyed through this and held himself accountable for the part that he played. But now it's like, okay, I get to share what that journey was like. And that's what I think helped me when we first met was I met him as a broken, open, transparent, what's the word I'm looking for? Authentic person.
Okay.
So when we first met, I knew. So I couldn't avoid it. It was not like he hid it and, ooh, big surprise. He was always upfront with that part of himself. So.
And I feel like being in relationships is important to be your true authentic self. Like I feel like that's like very, very important to show the other person that so you're not coming off as keeping up with something, or when you switch and you be like, wait a minute, this isn't the person who I thought that I was with. So I feel like in the very beginning, and I feel like that's what you've seen his authentic self from the very beginning. So it made you, more acceptable. It feels like to actually, welcome love in. I love that. I love y'all's story. I do. Okay, so tell us, to me, I feel like this was like a form of a manipulation, Chris and Samantha, that was going on. Tell us how did this make you feel, like far as in on how you feel towards her or her actual standpoint? I know you're healed and we look at people differently when we're healed, but how did it make you feel? Because to me, I'm a healed person, but I feel like this was still a level of manipulation that a lot of people are doing and a lot of people are unaware. Like you said, you didn't even check for the death certificate. A lot of men will just listen to what women are saying. They won't check for nothing. They won't ask for any receipts or nothing. And, they'll just get scammed or manipulated into this situation. So how did that make you feel towards this actual person when this was all happening?
Yeah. I like to give this advice when I answer this question because people ask me this. One of the first advices I give is that the only way that somebody can manipulate on this level and continue it up for years like this is because as a man, you might hold on to some guilt. So you might hold on to a certain level of guilt that you did to her. And that's kind of where I was. So even after I found out, I still tried to fix things. I still gave her the victim card. I still gave her a way out because I was guilty about the things I did to her. So for men, I always say, heal that part and then take on this situation. Because if you don't, you're going to find yourself always cowering to the guilt. So once you get past the guilt, then they don't have that anymore. So then they can't manipulate you like they used to. I mean, as far as what she did in the beginning, how it made me feel, I was angry at her. But again, the guilt kept me from blaming her all the way. So, and because I wasn't blaming her all the way, I kept looking at me as if I was the criminal here.
Wow.
You understand? So if you constantly think you're the criminal, because what you did was years ago. What she's doing is ongoing, but you keep on thinking you're the criminal. The criminal is the one that gave the child up.
Wow.
You understand? The one who manipulated you. And they knew they could manipulate you. So I have no anger towards her at this point. I don't communicate with her. I don't talk to her at all. I don't give her my energy. at
Right.
all. My children are teenagers, so I talk directly to them. They have everything. They have accounts set up towards I send them money if they need it. So, I don't have that relationship with her. I wish I could, but if she's ashamed of what she did and she's in that mode of bitterness and guilt and, tore up with that, we just can't have that relationship until she comes to the table healed and ready to be an adult. So it's not like I'm angry towards it. It's just you got to protect your own energy.
Yeah. Wow. Okay, so I wanted to ask you this. Tell me what your viewpoint on being in karmic energy, low vibrational energy versus being in your divine energy, divine being energy. What do you see the two difference of then and then now?
Any one of us can answer that?
Yeah, I would love to hear from both of y'all.
Take that first.
Go ahead.
I think that karmic energy is this is how I understand it from my perspective.
Okay.
How I looked at it is that okay, there's energy and then there's karmic energy, right? So what I am inside is who I've always been. No matter if I was 8 years old, I still been the same soul, the same energy. It's just that now my soul is a little wiser because this time around I learned some things and I picked up on some things and I corrected some things. So I kind of like jumped ahead in my evolution in my soul.
Right.
But karmic energy is something that even if I changed, and this will help me heal, I noticed that even if I changed as a person, there were things that were karmatic, things that I committed, things that I did in the streets to women, to people, that no matter if I changed or not, I still had to go through that energy. So I still had to process that energy. I still had to go through the consequences of that. So, and I think by going through the consequences of the karmic energy and understanding what it was, it kind of got me to my divine masculine form. Because without it, without the trauma, without the bad stuff, the good, the bad, without all the things that I went through personally, I wouldn't be the man I am today. I'll be something different.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what that would have been,
Mm-hmm.
but I know what I am now. And I know without the things that the karma, without the decisions that I made, even though some of them were crazy and hideous, but if you don't forgive yourself for them, then the karmic energy just continues. The difference is that when you get to that divine masculine, the karmic energy does stop at some point. It does end. Like it's so then you start a new karma, but you might have to kind of go through the old karma, like my son being put up for adoption. It's some things that I committed, in the past that led to that decision. That she made that decision based on her emotions. So even though she's held accountable for that, I understand it karmatically that what I went through after that, that was my choice. You understand what I'm saying? So I don't blame anybody. So it's kind of like once you get past that, you kind of heal. You say, okay, well, now I'm gonna start a new karma. I found him. I talk to him every day. So me and him have a whole life together now. He's 10 years old. So now we have a whole life together.
Yes.
After that. So, that's kind of how, I see that karma is something that doesn't stay with you, but your energy as who you are inside stays with you. Now, you could not learn what that is. You could not pay attention to it. You could not do nothing with it and just stay in the cycle, or you can figure who you are and get out of the cycle and let the karma, die out after a while and then start a whole new one. So that's how I would understand that.
Nice. Very deep. I would say, for me and my journey towards healing personally, I think we all exist with this divine energy inside, but you can't access that if you don't break open at a point. A lot of us spend a lot of time closed off to ourselves because we've either got religion to lean on. Religion doesn't allow you to really deal with yourself. You're dealing with something outside of yourself to come and fix you and answer you and bless you. But that cultivation that it takes as a individual, it requires you to break open at a point and to look at yourself, and that's very uncomfortable. So I think a lot of us avoid it. And when you avoid that, you don't get to open the door to your divinity. You never experience that, even though it's a part of you. So I think we all had, and this is why I say there's no excuse for anybody, because we're all capable. We all have dark and light. So spirituality is not about dark or light. It's the duality, the balance of it all. I can embrace my shadow side if I'm okay with my journey like him, So that's definitely, I think, one area where we we easily met at the mind first because we both can conceptualize that and build off of each other. Like I've learned so much from him and how consistent he is. This man gets up every day like clockwork and meditates every day. And I could be, ain't got nothing to do with me. You know what I'm saying? Like his time is his time. So it's beautiful watching another healed person in their everyday dynamic. Because sometimes we don't have the answers. Like it's hard to find that balance. But when you have somebody that's challenging you and making an example of themselves without pressuring you, by the way, because he's never once looked at me like, you need to get up and pray. You need to get up and meditate. It's not like that. It's not a religion. Being with him doesn't require me to put on something special.
And how do you identify the difference between religion and spirituality?
Say that one more time.
How do you identify the difference between religion and spirituality?
That's deep. Yeah, I think for me, because I was a devout Christian for over 20 years, whereas he was a devout Muslim. Yeah, so you feel me? It's hard leaving the church family, but when you do leave and you truly connect with the divine great spirit, it's a very personal experience. It's inside. There's nothing external that can account for your healing. I don't have any entity to say, oh, they healed me. No, I did that. And I'm okay with that. And religious people don't always like to hear that because it challenges them and it makes them say, well, I do actually need to do something other than believe and pay my tithes and sing in the choir and show up every Sunday. No, sometimes it's ugly and it's embarrassing and it's painful. But people who make change in this world, they go through, they don't go over, they don't skip over. So I think religion doesn't allow us that accountability that we require to grow spiritually.
Yes, I feel like it does. I feel like you said, it skips over that part. It's like you skip over and then you're elevated and healed by just going to church every Sunday, and that makes you this sanctified person. And it's like, no, you missed the whole middle part. We can't just, because even people in church are still dealing with their demons and their shadow side, and they don't want to face certain things because the church is making them feel like, oh, well, I don't have to deal with that. I'm just going to go right here, and I'm here next to God. Why I got to deal with all that? Like, just leave it to God. And it's like, no. And then they have to come back. You got to come back down because, like you said, I've been a diehard Christian all my entire life, like on the choir and active and everything in the church. Every Sunday I was there, and you couldn't tell me anything about my faith when it came to religion and Christianity. And then one day I was like, well, I still don't know who I am. Like, who is me, and what is my purpose here? And what do I stand for? I still had all these big question marks over my head. And I'm just like, but I'm going to I feel like religion and church is, I don't knock it. I feel like it serves its purpose for people. It definitely built a foundation for me for me to go to the next level where I need to go at. But at the same time, it did not feed me soul-wise. It just fed my ego. It fed what was going on around me outside my outer world. But my inner world was not being fed by any type of religion. That was something I had to find and do on my own. Connect with God. I was going to church. I knew nothing about connecting with God. Just because we're sitting here, we're singing and we're praising together, I just didn't feel any connection to God, and people, they have the Holy Spirit and stuff like that in church. I just couldn't feel any of that. It just felt like it was the right thing to do to be a Christian or go to church. And that comes up off of our belief and how we were raised. My mom was like that. So yeah, so that's very interesting. But I do love that viewpoint of it. And you coming from an Islamic background, not Christian background, they're even more stricter than the Christians,
So I mean, one of the things that Islam is worse than Christianity in, if it can be worse, is that it strips you of your culture. At least as Christians, you can still be an Indian. You can still have your culture. You can be in a church and still have a culture that's quote unquote a black one, right? Or an indigenous culture. Right. In Islam, you got to become an Arab. And this is why many of our people don't do well in it, because we're trying to keep up with a culture that doesn't belong to you. So if it doesn't belong to you, then it doesn't vibrate on the same frequency as your ancestors. So if it doesn't vibrate in the same frequency as your ancestors, you're never going to do it right. This is why you find, you grew up in Philly, back and forth, you see people in and out of hijab. Next day they covered up. The brother, this day he in the club, then Friday he at the mosque. He can't get away from himself because religion stops you at a point in your evolution. So if you're constantly worrying about how something outside of you is going to come help you or feed you or forgive you, and you're looking for something to say that you're okay other than yourself, then you get stuck spiritually. And this is what makes religion dangerous, because it makes it dangerous because it stops you. We never become, we always stay in a minority mindset. We never become adults.
Yeah. Wow.
And the only way you can demonstrate your piety is to put on a garment.
Yeah.
Like it's just
some
it's
morality
weird.
that doesn't matter, because you can go in the forest right now, someone who never seen society, drop in the middle of the jungle. He's going to still have a certain level of morality. He won't just rape women. He won't kill people. He won't rob people automatically. He'll do that automatically. He don't need to be threatened to do that. But if you create a system and tell me that the only reason I'm filthy, I'm low, religion gives you a negative view of yourself from the gate. You're a sinner. You're bad. You're wicked. And the only way, you can never not be wicked, but the only way to have any goodness is to constantly plead and beg something other than yourself. That's slavery mentally. It becomes slavery physically and psychologically. You just can't. You got to break that cycle to even grow as anything. So when I speak the way I speak about religion, it's from experience, and it's from the fact that I see my people, especially in Philadelphia, suffering under these systems.
Yes. I totally agree with you. It's very, very, to me, it's suppressing. It's suppressing and depressing. It really is. And I feel like that is going to change, though. I do feel like it's going to change. I feel like even church is going to start implementing more spiritual practices. I went to church a couple of weeks ago with my mom. She invited me. I went with her. And the entire time the preacher was preaching, it had nothing to do with the Bible verse. It was more about spirituality. So it was like I'm hearing them now preach, that they're implementing that in, because they're losing the people. They're losing. And like you said, when it comes to us being part of a religion that doesn't resonate with our ancestors or doesn't resonate with who we are, I mean, I feel like that's like majority of religion. I feel like even Christianity, it began with the Christian Knights. Islam began with their culture. I feel like Islam has a very strict culture, like they're very lineage wise, but Christianity is not our ancestor religion. Like it's just not. And it's just a time for a change for that. It really is. And it is. And I got my mom waking up in the morning, grand rising. And I say beautiful rising, but she's waking up and she's becoming a little woke and spiritually more conscious. And it's not even by me saying anything from her, but just by off of my actions. Like you said, your husband gets up, he meditates. It's just in the action. It's just in the flow of things and things like that. So I absolutely love the change of where we're going and where we're actually evolving as a people. I feel like more of the masculines, they're slowly coming up, with the waking of the women. We getting it down packed, okay?
I told people, I said, places like Philadelphia will change when the women change it. The men are just the protectors of the culture that the women create. Men don't want to hear that, but brothers, your only job on this planet was to protect the matriarch. It was protect the culture carrier and the language carrier and the carrier of the bloodline, which still is the woman's womb. That was our only job. We got away from that job and our communities are suffering. It doesn't mean that women didn't do things that were crazy and blameworthy, but I'm talking from a man's point of view. I'm not here to point the finger at women. I'm telling brothers, your job is to protect your women mentally, psychologically, and spiritually. That's your job. Your job is not to order them around. Your job is not to walk around here like you did shit and that, the women got to just obey you. That wasn't what you was created for. That's not your job. Okay? Y'all partners. This is not a man over a woman or a woman over a man. Every single ancient civilization showed men and women staring at each other. Go to Egypt, Osiris and Osset and all of that and all that different stuff. It was the man and woman and child. Come to America, the same thing. The mother, father, and the child. Every culture had this divine equilibrium of masculine and feminine. But when it came down to culture carrying, when it came down to language, when it came down to the seed and us continuing as a people, the women was it. Why you think every time in our culture, Big Mama? Why you think every time in our culture, grandma was, she sit at the top of the table? Why you think that you heard you was Indian from your grandmother?
Yeah.
Because the women passed the culture on. And the man's job was to make sure she survived long enough to pass the culture on. Mm-hmm. We don't do that anymore because of rap music and all this other stuff. We don't protect our women, and we think it's soft. We get called what's the word we use? A simp.
Simp. Yeah. It is. It definitely is. And I do, that's why I said I love y'all dynamic, and I hope that y'all can continue to spread that, continue to show that. It's very, very beautiful, like I said, and bring more awareness to it, because we definitely need it. And I just feel like our community is starving for it. We're being starved out when it comes to just... Yes, I agree. I so agree. Yes. And like you was saying, being starved, Samantha, like being starved of it all your life. And then finally, like, understanding what it feels. It's an overwhelming sensation. And I recently, like probably within the last year, really understood what love was. I did not understand what it was before then. And like, it was like really finding that validation of everybody else outside of myself. And I just cried. Like I cried so many times, like my chest, like, because I was just like so in shock how it was like I was really neglecting myself, like love for myself. I didn't love myself. I'm like, oh my goodness, I thought these people loved me and they're not here. And I thought this was love and this is not here. And it was just like, no, Tiffany, you was love all along itself. You are love. Like, I need you to feel that. And when I really felt that frequency and that vibration, I just like bawled out tears, like crying, like cry. Probably a few times, but it was just like an overwhelming and missing sensation of like, no, this is love. This is you letting go, you removing yourself from things, you learning how to detach from things, you putting yourself first, boundaries, all of that. When I started implementing those things, I was like, this is feeling like I'm filling my cup up. Like, okay, this is a love. I never felt like this before. I'm not putting everybody else before me. And, I'm doing what I can, not overextending myself or feeling like I got to people please, So it was just all hitting me. So yes, love to me is a frequency, is a vibration. I feel like we could share it with one another. There's nothing wrong with that. And a lot of people are scared to do that. They're scared to feel that vibration. They're scared to actually share that vibration with somebody else. They don't even want to be open to it. So, yeah. So the next one...
I believe they deserve it. If you don't believe you deserve that feeling, because we get addicted to feelings, right? So say if an individual is addicted to feeling a certain way, just like with a drug, you're going to make sure you get that snort, that dope, that liquor. You're going to make sure you get it because your body's craving it. So if you get used to a certain way of feeling, whether it's traumatic, whatever, your brain doesn't know the difference between the actual event or the memory.
Right.
Only thing that the brain is going to do is give the signal that you're thinking about it, and your body's going to react like it's happening. So you get addicted. So what you want to do is you just want to make your body addicted to feeling love and feeling compassion. Yeah. So once you get because it's just a chemical, it's just chemical reactions in your body that your brain gives out, that the chakra, because chakra points are glands, right? So each chakra point is a gland. So when you learn how to take care of those glands, and you know how to make them vibrate higher and give off that signal and give off those chemicals, your body will start to be addicted to feeling like rainbow bright.
Yeah.
Now, you want to keep on living in the past and keep on remembering. Just change your perspective of everything you've been through, and your emotions will change with it. So if I look at everything, oh, North Philly was this, North Philly was that, I grew up like this, and I constantly tell the story with the same emotion behind it, my mind and my body just going to stay there. But if I tell it in a sense of me teaching somebody something that I gained from the situation, I'm not sad about it anymore. I'm kind of like, oh, I'm aware of what that does to people and what it did to me. It changes your perspective.
I like how you use the word signal too. Signal meaning you're gonna attract whatever
Exactly
sees that and is drawn to that. So if I'm healed truly and I know how to love me, I'm gonna attract that which loves themselves too. That's what we did.
Yeah.
You know, I don't think it's hard to find somebody without that signal being out there. You can't reach who you're supposed to reach.
Yeah, you're gonna hear the signal. You're gonna know your, because we started listening to the same music. I didn't know who she was, but when I met her, her playlist was the same as mine.
Right.
The same love songs, the same music, the same artist though.
Wow.
The same exact song, because we were signaling each other.
That's so true. That's so true.
Eventually you run into each other. So whatever you feel in the inside the outer world has to construct to how you feel. That's your God power. So instead of believing that some God in the clouds going to do something for you, just start imagining and having the up emotion of love and compassion, and truly believing that your world will be what you want it to be, and everything will circle that. Before I met, maybe a year ago or so ago, I was living 39th from Brown. 6 people got shot on my block since I was living there for like 5 months, and I seen 6 young boys get killed and shot and killed on the block, and I got a gun poured out on me.
Wow.
So, but every night I went to bed, I imagined me being somewhere else. I kept the emotion of, oh, I don't live here. No matter what the outside world is telling me, inside I don't live here. I live somewhere where I want to live.
Yeah,
I'm with the woman I want to be with. And 5-6 months later, I met her, and then here we are. I'm turned around. I have the career I want. I have the things I want. You know what I'm saying? Maybe not everything I want, but I know they exist, and I know they're going to be there. But I'm in the world. In a year's time, my emotions, my life, everything around me changed, because in my mind, when I went to sleep, I didn't care about the gunshots outside. That's not what I believed in.
Wow. Yes, that is the power of manifestation. That's very, very powerful. I feel like we all hold that power to make changes in our life like that. Like you said, it's just all about the mindset and what are we keep replaying and telling ourselves. Because I know people who sound like a broken record. They got the same, well, my mom did this and I lived like that. They have the same old record, and that is exactly what you're manifesting. You're manifesting stagnation. You're manifesting being stuck. You're not going to implement any type of change in your life when you keep yourself in that same. It's your mindset. Absolutely. Yep. Your last one is food. Food. You do?
It's like a passion, mine.
Food. I think I look at food as like a moment to experience something. Like I look at it like, all right, it's the food, and so I like to savor. I just think of savoring it like a moment in time, especially when somebody can cook. Like she can cook, and she puts her foot into it, because when somebody loves you, you can taste it in the food.
Yes.
Like Big Mama used to throw down like that. Our aunts and stuff used to throw down because they actually loved their family. You know, so you didn't go to McDonald's for no Sunday dinner. You didn't order out. They cooked the food, and you tasted their love in it. My mom was just here, and my mom cooked breakfast the couple of days she was here. And it was like, when you tasted the memory of childhood, you forget these so-called tragedies that you've been through in childhood. When I bit them
potatoes that she made.
No.
When I bit them home fries, it make you remember that there was good times. And what happened is you get so used to thinking a bad thing, you forget that even the ghetto has sunshine.
Yes.
Hopscotch, wall ball, curve ball, playing basketball on the crates. You know, mom calling you for dinner, the fried chicken, the mashed potatoes, the corn. You know, playing topsies. We forget that the ghetto has sunshine. You get older, you forget that. So, you know, that's what I think about when I have food. Sorry for going so deep, but you know.
No. Yes, absolutely. I totally agree with you. And that, to be honest, Chris, is what has kept me like keep moving forward. Is like I don't like to dwell, not to say I don't ignore what the bad things I've been through, but like you said, those good times of what we actually, all the cousins coming together or hanging outside in the neighborhood or going out with auntie and things like that. You forget all of the other things because you focused on all of the good things that you went through. And yeah, the laughter. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. 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 I was just going to say that. And block parties, hanging outside late at night, talking, everybody talking and laughing. Yeah. Yeah. And you forgot any struggle that you was going through in that moment. Like when you're out there and you're like, you don't think about, like you said, you don't think about the gunshots, the robbery, you don't think about the struggles and nothing. You just think about those happy times. And yeah, I definitely feel you on that. That's what kind of keeps me moving forward though. Like, embracing that.
That must have been the concept for the show Good Times, like the whole title of it.
Good times. It's good. It was good times. And I think that we have to do.
Yeah.
They want you to remember. When I say they, we know that there's things behind the scene, but we know there's entities that don't want good for us. But what I'm saying is that they want you to only remember one thing. We got to remember you are the creator. Your mind creates, your imagination creates. So, but I could project things to you. I could cause your tragedies to make you feel a certain way, think a certain way. So then you start creating your world around you. Why we think that you constantly in a time loop all the time. And one of the things that I picked up on in my journey was I asked myself, why do my relationships always end the same? Why is it that I always do something where the woman is crying? Why do I always, after 2 years, I fall apart? Why do I do this? Why do I do that? I stopped asking, oh, women do this. Oh, the sisters don't do this. The sisters don't do that. I got out of that. So I got into, okay, what's the common denominator in every single one of my relationships? It can't be the woman because it's a different woman every time. Right. So what's the common denominator? Not taking any responsibility away from the women because they had their traumas and their issues from growing up as well. Right. But as a man, though, I just believe that the only thing I need to be worrying about is my actions. So once you realize, okay, well, what's the common denominator? The common denominator was me, my trauma, my responses to what a woman may have wanted from me emotionally, my responses to myself, how I felt about myself. So if you're not catching those things, you won't change. Forget all that alpha male, beta male, all that. Just be a man. And if you don't know what a man is, then you get into these titles of alpha, beta, simp. If you don't know what a man is, if you don't understand naturally what a man's job is, you'll get into these titles. Brothers, leave all the titles alone, figure out what a man is, and then personalize that man for yourself. Yes. And your family. Right. And that's just, I just think that people need to look at this journey as self-discovery. When you discover yourself, you kind of like, you get better. And then you start forgiving yourself. Man, you got to forgive yourself for the stuff on the streets and all this other stuff. And nobody talks to the indigenous man about how he feels about what he did in the streets but this psychologist in Atlanta I used to go see, older brother from West Philly. And he did a study that children in North Philadelphia during the crack era in North Philly had a higher PSTD rate than children in Bosnia during the war. Because it wasn't just about the violence that a child sees. He has to go home to dysfunction as well. So when you're doing that, this creates a certain type of man, a certain type of woman. It's a cycle. It's a machine, a cookie cutout machine. But if you see it for what it is, you start to get out of the mold of what that creates. And then you're going to see your children be different. I look at my children today, they don't have the same upbringing as me. They don't talk the same as I did when I was their age. They don't look at the same things the same way. They don't have the same conversations that I had when I was 13, 14, and 15. They don't have a gun on them, crack on them. So you break a chain. All it takes is one person to stop. And then everybody after him doesn't know what that is in the past. And then your bloodline changes at that point.
Yes. And that's breaking generational curses. Yep, that's breaking generational curses. It's just that simple. It's just implementing change in your family tree, being different from what you've seen before that. Like you said, it's a different. I have 4 generations, and my grandma, my mom, and my daughter and me. You see a difference of us progressing and changing. Like you said, my kids didn't experience that. Their conversations are different. You know, they don't have to feel like they have to go out there and hustle or be like somebody else. Their foundation is very different. And I see that. I mean, you know, it definitely starts with that. And I'm actually kind of proud to say that because, you know, my yeah, I don't see the same things. No, I'm not to say that my kids have to be, you know, going to college or doing what society wants them to do. I'm happy that they're grounded in who they are. They're not being who anybody else wants them to be. And that to me has changed because I felt like growing up that I needed to be like everybody else. I had to have a job. I had to go to school and you know, I had to do what my peers were all doing and be this person, put this mask on. And my kids are not, they're completely different. They're like, you know, they're doing where they're spiritually being led and guided to do. And I do admire them for that. I thank them for that. You know, I just feel like they need a little bit more push because, you know, I don't know, we was a different kind of breed a little bit. These kids are kind of like, I think they're like too laid back. No, sorry.
Telling your story and even this platform, just this, the vibration of our conversation is powerful. And you did that. You created this platform, and to see our people doing that, and to see another Indigenous American woman doing what you're doing is powerful. Like, you should be proud.
Hell yeah.
This is rare for us to be in this
and it's a
healing
safe
space.
spot. And we're not talking about celebrities.
Right.
We're not shaking our behinds. We're not on here cussing and acting a fool. It's actually a real energetic, positive conversation going on. And it's going on a lot. But the only thing they want to show us is BET. They want to show us our women are loud. Our men don't like our women. They want to keep showing us nonsense. But when you break out of that mold, you start finding out that there's millions of us doing
it. Yeah. Exactly. And that's exactly what I didn't want to. Everything she just said is what I didn't want to share. I don't want to share ratchet, ghetto, or ignorance. You know, I don't want to focus on celebrity. I want to focus on us, you know, us as people, our journey. And I feel like with me, another reason I created this is because I enjoy going on live. I enjoy the people that I interact with on my platforms. It was very healing for me to get through my divorce, like talking and, you know, being able to be vulnerable on camera and share my story and share what I'm going through. And that was what made me, you know, wanted to go further into actually doing this. So I do thank y'all so much for being on the show. I want to know what's next for you, Mr. Chris and Miss Samantha.
Yeah, I'm gonna give somebody advice about perspective.
Okay.
If you change your perspective about life, one of the things that come from that is important. When my ex-wife, she died, when I was a Muslim, I had more than one wife, obviously. Okay. But I'm not a Muslim anymore. But she passed away in Egypt. Now, her name was Carlson, beautiful woman, very special. And when she first died, you think about it as you're missing the person, right? But later on, when you start to heal and start to understand how the universe works, you got to go back and look at things. Sometimes you got to go back and look at things in a different way.
Right.
She was great, but if she would have stayed around in my life, but then she would have been more of a crutch for me, and I wouldn't have became the person I am. And some people say to themselves, "Oh my God, you wanted her to die?" No, of course not. Who knew that she was going to pass away? She died in Egypt during the war. Now, if she would have stayed around, I wouldn't have became me. She was a crutch. So the universe let me feel what love was so that later on I could probably go back to that emotionally and see that when a woman is genuinely loves you, you can recognize it. So that helps me recognize her. See, we don't look at our world like that. We're so sad and the person, they're not going, they're just in another place. They're alive. They're just not here. You can't see them. And when you understand that things happen, so later on in life, you can use that experience to be the person you need to be for the new person or the new life that you have. And that's how I changed my perspective about my wife dying. And she was a great person. To this day, I think about her. I miss her. She was a great person, but I needed her for that point of time. and I got what I got from her. And then she went on to her new journey without me. And then I went on with my journey. But I can go back now and flip the pages and look at my life with her and say, oh, this is where I did wrong. This is what I didn't do wrong. And she genuinely loved me. And I know how that feels now.
Yes.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
And that's just, and that's how you got a kind of perspective. But as far as me, we're relaunching the Urban Indian brand eventually. We're working on relaunching it. So this is our brand. She did.
Oh my goodness! Yes, I gotta get my shirt. I forgot. I gotta get my shirt. Send me the information. Don't let me forget.
Send you one. You just gotta send us your address and everything. We'll take care of you.
Okay.
But yeah, this is our brand. So we're working on that. Oh, we're working on editing the book. She's the editor of the book called The Journey of the Urban Indian. So that book is about how I reach my point now. So the book is basically The Wizard of Oz, where I'm meditating. I don't know that. The book doesn't tell that till later, but I'm meditating. And in that meditation, I go through each levels of my soul. And each level of my soul is a different part of this world that I'm in. And every part of the world has a different time period in my life of some major event that changed me forever. So I have to go back and release it to become the person I am today. So it talks about how I found out I was American Indian, what kind of Indian, who I am, and that whole journey of self-discovery.
I'm really enjoying editing it too. I majored in communication, so I've always been a writer. I published the book about, I want to say 3.5 years ago. So it's just ironic that you came with this book written, and I get to kind of course through that journey with you by editing. It's a really cool process. It's letting me see it, like his layers and what makes him him. So
Oh, nice. And he has so much to his story than just what I know. We talking about the whole adoption thing, but his story is so vast. Like it's very it's so many pieces to him. It's so interesting the things like being in Egypt, different wars, different love, like going through the love, the war, the men, the divine, it's so many pieces to his story. So that's gonna be a very good book.
My son, by the way. I did find him. Yes. He lives in the Netherlands. So we talk. So we gotta actually we have a video call tomorrow with him. He thinks I'm a hero. He thinks I'm a hero. So and he all he talks about is me. Well, how did he survive over there in America in the poor neighborhood? How did he survive the war? Like what? He's still alive? How is he still alive? Wow. So he sees me as his personal hero. So and I also have a daughter I'm not allowed to see. Her name is Kiki. Her mom disappeared with her 2 years ago, but I'm working on that as well. But like I said, I hold no grudges against people. I know that some people may take longer to overlook some of the mistakes I've made in the past, and I'm okay with that. Right. I'm okay with that. But I do know one day I will see my daughter again. I write her letters even though I don't see her. How I feel about her and stuff like that.
I know people wonder about this too, Meg. I'm a very just on the table, candid, open person. I know people look and wonder, what is it that makes you keep fighting, even though this is such a difficult thing, right? We had somebody make a comment to him the other day. Hold yourself accountable, Black man. And I wanted to say a couple of choice words. I kept it very, very cordial as I could for social media, but you don't know his story. You don't know his journey. You don't know his level of accountability or what he's gone through to be who he is today. And it's okay that people don't respect each other's journey. And this is the thing about religion that makes people feel like they have the right to judge your journey. But when you really sit and listen to him talk, he's never to this day badmouthed anyone to me. Not nobody, no Muslim, no ex. He's always taken accountability. And that to me is such a beautiful thing because he doesn't have to share that with the world. You didn't have to tell anybody about your story if you're trying to hide something about who you were. Right. Yeah. So the beauty in it is just you telling your story from that healed place. Yeah. A man takes accountability. So for somebody to doubt that, it was just like, man, you really don't know him. And that's okay. But I can vouch for the fact that he's an amazing father, husband. First of all, my ex-husband talks to him more than he talks to me. Oh, yeah. So that should tell you something. They have a whole bond going on.
Me and Dwayne got a whole little bond going on. Marvel movies, DC movies,
everything.
sports.
But
we got a little bromance going.
A little bromance. But I think he can see that he loves our daughters. Like those are his children too. Now we built the whole community around our children, and our people need to see that. So people can have their judgments, but at the end of the day, you did that. You know what I'm saying? So,
I mean, the thing about it, and I know you probably don't be on here too much longer, but like I said, those are the things going on with the book. It'll be finished soon. The Urban Indian clothing line brand that we're doing. We're doing some different things, but those are the two things that we're working on at the moment.
Yeah.
But as far as fighting and keep fighting, it's just that, think about this, y'all. Everything you ever been through in life, has it worked out? For the most part, it has. If you think about life, when it happens at the moment, that's when you're supposed to use your spirituality. We think, all right, it happened, let me boo-hoo and cry about it, be all broken. And that's cool to feel any emotion you want to feel, but you got to let it go and go out. The problem is we hold on to the emotion too long, where it becomes a memory, and then that memory becomes a reaction. The reaction becomes attitude, and the attitude becomes a personality. So if you have to look at it as everything works out. My childhood was rough, but I'm looking at myself at 43 around. I'm a present father. I'm a present in the life of my wife. I'm present in life for everybody, people that I need to be emotionally. I'm looking like, well, that did happen at the moment, but the only reason you still hold on to it because you keep remembering it with the same emotion. All you gotta do is cut off the past in that way. Remember the past to learn from it. Stop putting your emotions into it.
Yes.
And that's where you get caught at. So that's how I keep fighting, because I know everything works out.
Yes.
It all ends at some point. We just think it doesn't because we remember it too long.
Yeah, that bad experience, we stick on that too much. Or is this the same thing gonna happen like this? Or is somebody gonna leave me? Or is somebody gonna, we think too much on our bad experience. Well, no, what if it does turn out great? What if on the other side of that, what, like, the craziest thing is that we be so scared to do things, and then we do things and we be like, oh, that wasn't even so bad. Like, I was all nervous and scared, and then when I did it, it was like, it was amazing. Yeah.
Stop taking everything personal, and you will see that life will be cherries. I don't take nothing personal. People attack me a lot. Yeah, they come in my comments, say stuff to me. I never respond. One guy came and attacked me, called me all types of names. All I said to him was, well, listen, you could have easily DM'd me. Maybe I am wrong. Maybe I don't understand what you're saying to me. So just DM me and just correct me. I'm approachable. He didn't know what to say after that. So I don't take anything personal. I don't know where he's at mentally. I don't know where this person at emotionally.
Right.
I don't know what happened to them in their life to bring them to this type of behavior. So I just don't take nothing personal, because if it could have been anybody. He would have said the same thing to somebody else.
Yeah.
Don't take life personal, and don't take it too serious, and just cruise. That's it. Enjoy.
And I'm going to tell you something about that. I haven't came across any negative comments or people attacking me. But what I did before I got into social media and got on these platforms was I prayed. I prayed for almost a year that God send me genuine people. He protect me as well. But I prayed. I said, God, please just have genuine, like-minded people around me that I attract. And that's why I've been making friends on social media, is like-minded people, genuine people who support me. And, we exchange energy back and forth. And that's what I've been asking for. And I haven't had any hate or any attack. So, I would just pray for that. But like you said, people, you just don't know where people are mentally, and they don't understand the context of the text when they're texting. It's just, I don't know. I just feel like people just need to take a step back and ask themselves, is this coming from a judgmental place? Is this a place coming from my ego? Is this when I'm sharing to them, is this something that's, that they could take from? Is it operating in love? What frequency is this operating by me actually texting this or writing this? And I think if people start doing that, it's some people just need to mind their business. I just swear, like, I just be like, mind your business. Like, I don't know. I just be like, I be trying to be woosah with it, but some people I be like, you will get all of this today, okay? I be trying. Maybe that's why people don't test me, because I'll be like, you not gonna. I will respond. You're very nice with it. I'll be like, I will respond with a whole nother.
Y'all not nice. Yeah, I'm more like, I think that's because I've seen so
Samantha
much.
not nice.
No.
No, exactly.
No, girl, I'm an Ophiuchus, Sagittarius, Scorpio mix.
Oh, okay.
See what I'm saying? Like, if you were bold enough to say, you'd be bold enough to receive a response.
Oh, that's a crazy bitch. That Sagittarius and Scorpio. I got a Sagittarius moon. I'm a Leo, Sag, and Virgo, but I got that Sagittarius moon, so it be like, keep her calm, like. Yes. Well, I thank you guys so much for joining us today on Tiffany Talk. I want to see so much more of you guys. Your information will be below. I'll have all of y'all links to y'all pages and y'all channel and y'all website. If y'all do have it, please make sure you send it to me. And I love you guys. Thank you so much from one to another. You as well. Bye.